Good afternoon again, everybody. So while they're still setting up, so we are here again as a part of all customizations that we've been showing you for a couple of days. So we're going to show you one more. Probably talked about it a little bit in the previous sessions, but we're going to go a bit deeper into what we built as dispute and reconciliation modules, which all were added as extensions to Mojaloop, of course, to be able to help DFSPs. Of course, we do the settlement, it's automated, the further settlement, it's automated, all is going well. And in our implementation of Mojaloop, just as a part of R&D version 2, what we try to maximize is that if the switch has communicated with DFSPs that a transaction has been successful or failed, we try to minimize the errors that could be caused by the switch to the maximum level possible. But while we do that, we also do understand that we can do our part, but you don't know how the other side is implemented. You don't know how you handle the messages, the Paxo tool we send them, we don't know how they handle them. So most likely there's going to be differences at some point. So that's where these two modules come into play. So basically, we want to be able to, in case there is any differences between the data that we have at the switch and what is being seen as the transaction status on a DFSP level, we want to provide kind of an automated way forward. So that's where we built these two modules. So basically, they can raise any complaint on any transaction without doing it manually, as it's being done mostly today. And at least some participants have reported that manual reconciliation have led them to a pretty significant losses in revenues, some reporting between 15 to 20% and others even higher, all because they don't have a way to really do reconciliation in a nicer way, if I can say it like that. So without taking too much of your time, so I'm going to let my colleagues here first walk us through what we built as part of our reconciliation and dispute, and later on also do a small demo for us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Richard. I'll try to go through how it's working before we start with the demo. Starting by the reconciliation. So our reconciliation is based on the settlement that was built by the Mojaloop. It's divided into windows or cycles, as we call them. This cycles has like a starting time and when the time ends or when they transition to another cycle. And this is what we call windows. And what we try to reconcile is the transaction that happened in these windows. Yeah, so when we create a window for reconciliation, we create slots for each DFSP has a slot. These slots are going to be helpful for these DFSPs to upload their reconciliation file or like the transaction that happened in that particular window and upload them on the system. This will use FTP or an API that is already on the portal that will be showing later on. And when that's done, there we come to the comparison process. This comparison process, the goal of this comparison process is to make sure that all DFSPs are like are on the same aligns with the switch on what have been settled in that window. So we have three types of mismatches implemented. These are mismatches that appears on the DFSP but are not on the switch. We have the second type of mismatches that are transactions that are on the switch but are not available on the DFSP. And the other one is when we have both have the record but different amounts. So additionally, we have where we put like all the transaction that happened on that in that cycle in view of that particular DFSP. When we go into the demo, I'm sure that it will be clearer. So the process for the reconciliation, this is the process that we go through. First of all, the settlement, when the window is closed, the system will automatically close a reconciliation window. That these DFSPs should upload the files on. And this is the grouping that happens here. Like all the transactions are grouped according to the window and the participant. And the participant is prompt to upload their transactions. This can be done via FTP or file upload. And when the DFSP uploads the data, the system should be able to match all the transactions. These are the transactions that are in the switch and the transactions that the DFSP has generated, and it will group them into these categories, as we said earlier. So the benefits, as my colleague said, it's just fairness and transparency and resolution and efficiency, because it will help eliminate all the manual reconciliation efforts. Yeah. For the disputes, we have two types of disputes. We have transactional based disputes, and we have non-transaction based disputes. These transaction disputes are these disputes that are linked to a specific transaction, and some disputes are not related to a transaction. So those are the two types that we have currently. And this is the process. So the process for the dispute is a bit long. I'm very sure that you get hang of it in the demo, but just to give you an overview, like a preview of what you'll be seeing. So one DFSP will initiate the dispute, and when the DFSP initiates the dispute, it can be through the reconciliation or the dispute manual creation. And if the transaction it's transactional based, this system will automatically assign the dispute to the other involved DFSP on that particular transaction. And if it's not transactional based, the initiator should choose which DFSP or the hub itself that they want to raise the dispute to. And the respondent will review the dispute and approve it or decline it. And if it's approved, the switch will have a way of settling that transaction if necessary. And after that, it comes back to the respondent. No, it comes back to the initiator, sorry. It comes back to the initiator, and the initiator will review and close the dispute, or if they choose to escalate it, they should, when they escalate it, it will go to the switch, and the switch will The hub users will determine if they agree with the escalation or not, and when it's done, they should like tell the initiator what they decided on that dispute. Yeah. So without further ado, let's go to the presentation, the demo.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, before we go to the demo, maybe while he's displaying, I would like to do the recap of what you're going to see in the reconciliation. First of all, reconciliation, you have a switch. There are some transactions that have happened in the switch. Let's say the day is ending, and then we group all transaction per participant. Each participant has its own file of his related, transaction. And then what we do on the reconciliation part, we take each and every participant's reconciliation file, transaction file, every transaction that happened on that particular participant, and then we present to him like these are your transaction, and then we give them a way to upload also their transaction in their system, and then what our tool does is they match those two files, and then when you match them, what we do is that we identify mismatches, and we present all those mismatches in 4 categories that they have presented. There's the transactions that are available in the switch system and they're not available in the DFSP system. We have the ones that are available in the DFSP system, not in switch, or maybe they are in both systems, but the amount are different. So that's what we are going to see live now. I think you have gone through this part of logging in and everything. So we are going to do end-to-end payment simulation, and then we have those transactions, and then we'll close the settlement window, and then after closing the settlement window, I'll show you now how the system groups those transactions into per participant, and then we will upload the file from there. So he has simulated the transactions, and then it takes time because we are using the simulator. They are complete. We have simulated them, and then what he's going to do is that he's going to close the transaction window, and then when he closes the transaction window, it's done. And then you can see even what we call the liquidation file. Every participant, we show you, you need, maybe this, you can see on that page before you go, you can see on that page, the DFSP with that code, he needs to be debited that amount and credited that amount. And then on the next one, they show you if you are maybe MTN, they show you, you need to credit BK this amount, and they will credit you this amount, everything. So we show you everything, and then now let's go to the reconciliation, which is even the main point. Now you can see we have BK, Airtel, MTN, because they are the 3 DFSPs that we have in the system, and then we have grouped each and every participant's transactions. You can go the one of your choice and then see what. So when you go inside each every participant, we have 4. You can see we have 4 different tabs. First of all, we present you all the transactions that we have for you. So, and then we have another tab of the transaction that are in the switch, but not found in the DFSP data. We have the tab of DFSP data not found in the switch, and we have the mismatch tab. You can see we don't have any data because now the DFSP, this specific DFSP, needs to log in and they provide their data from their system. And now the switch is going to do the work of merging them and then present them the results. So we are going to log in out as, we need to log in as a DFSP, of course, so that we can provide now those specific files. So this is how it's done. You come here, you can see even the status is pending because you didn't provide yet the data. he's going to generate a file automatically. First of all, you need to log in to provide a token and everything so that we can generate a file to upload. And then now you see how it works. Wow. While waiting for the file is there. What we are going to do is we are going to upload it. As he has mentioned in the presentation, you have two ways that the FSP can provide the data. You can either upload your files of transaction in the system, or you can drop them on this SFTP server, and then the system will load them automatically. So these are the files that we're going to upload in the system. Now you can upload. So it's going to change some numbers so that we can have some mismatches, and you see how it looks like in the system. And then you go there, you upload. The system loads the file, and then you submit. And then when the page is refreshed, you can see the status of the whole file is mismatched, which means we have some mismatches. So you can see here, they're showing you that this file, this particular transaction is not available in the DFSP part, which means it's available on the switch, but not on the DFSP side. And when you go to the transaction from the FSP, you can see that we also have the one that is in the DFSP data, but not in the switch data. So while we're still here, so when, okay, you can go to the mismatch amount, and then I will explain how. You can see that we have also some transaction that we have on both switch and DFSP, but the amounts that we have are different. And we even show you on the DFSP side, you have that the transaction is 5,100, but on the switch side, we have 5,600. So we show you everything. So now, when we have all those mismatches, the actions now that participants can take are different depending on which type of the mismatch you have. When you go to the mismatch from switch, you can go to the, yes. When you have some transactions that are available in the switch, but not in your system, then the way to work on that and maybe fix it is to initiate a dispute. Our system has a way to initiate a dispute through a reconciliation tool without creating it from scratch. Show you that. And then when you have data in the DFSP that didn't reach the switch, which means that's your problem. Maybe if you have debited your client, you need to refund the money and then fix your problem on your side. That's why when you're on here, you have the way to resolve that internally. And then, of course, the mismatch, same, you can only raise the dispute and then that will be fixed around the way. So that is how our reconciliation tool. Now going forward to the dispute, we are going to initiate a dispute through reconciliation and see how it works. You choose the category of a dispute and you provide, yes, and then you submit. So when you create it here, you can see it's pending. We have this rule that internally within a DFSP, no one can initiate a dispute and then be seen on the other side. First of all, the hub is not allowed to initiate a dispute. So dispute is only initiated by DFSPs. And then when the transaction is between MTN and Airtel, and MTN initiates a dispute, it means that the respondent will automatically be Airtel. So that's how it works. It's automated, no manual assignment. When someone initiates it, the system knows exactly where it needs to go. And then within the DFSP, we have to have what we call a maker checker or approval. So if someone initiates it, there has to be someone who reviews it and then approves so that we can now send it to the other side. So he logs in as the admin to now mark it as open. You review everything, you put a comment, it's valid, and then you initiate it. So when now you initiate it from here, it's now visible on the other side. On the other side, it means if the transaction is between A and B, MTN and Airtel, it means if MTN is the one who initiated, then it's going to be reflected on the other side of Airtel. So now you can log in as the other part and then see if you can see it. We are going to log in as BK because the transaction was between Airtel and BK and see if you can see, they can be able to see the dispute. So when you log in here, they have initiated the dispute against you. You just review it. You can see everything, time of the transaction, every detail of the transaction. You even have another section there of discussions. You can go on discussions where you can come and ask questions. If you have some proofs, if you are discussing between DFSPs, you can even upload a document for the other party to see and have a conversation before you agree on the dispute or not. And you can even provide proofs. You can upload, you can have a chat here. You can upload some evidence if you have them. Everything is done here and it's visible on everyone who is part of the dispute, including the hub. The hub doesn't do anything about the dispute, but they have visibility on what's happening on everything. So this is how it's done. And then you decide if you approve or decline. Let's approve and see how it goes. So when you approve here, it means the other party will see, of course, that you have approved. Yes, I recognize this a dispute. This dispute is valid. Even the hub, they can see that you have approved. And then if the dispute requires settlement, of course, they will do settlement manually. So here we are planning in the near future to automate this so that the system generate a settlement file automatically and then send it to the central bank. But right now, currently, this is being done manually. But now the hub has the authority to settle only when the other party has approved, yes, we agree this is a dispute. And then you can now settle. And then when you settle, let's see what we see on the party that has initiated the dispute. So this is somehow a longer process, but this is how disputes are being handled. And this is the best way to handle them. You can see as a person who has initiated, you can see you have everything. They can show you, they have even settled you. So let's assume that maybe you were claiming that you need maybe 5,000 and then they have only settled 3,000. So you have the ability to close and say, okay, I'm now happy. It has been resolved well, or I can even escalate to the hub because the hub that is on another level or the scheme manager, they have the ability to manage all those claims. Let's escalate to the hub so that you can have a clear view on the whole process. When you log in as the hub now, and I'll switch in this case and go to dispute, you can see there's something that has been raised against you. So this is the view. Again, you can see everything related to the transaction. You can see the details, every transaction, and you can also even contribute on the discussions. And you can even see what has been okay, you can see everything that has gone through. People have been chatting, they have been exchanging documents, over the dispute, and you can see everything, and then you can even make a decision accordingly, or even do a meeting internally and then approve. You can now close the escalation. We have different reasons that are predefined for escalation. You can say this is out of scope, we don't work on it, it's inconclusive, or any other reason, and you provide the reason and then you close it. So this is how the whole dispute journey is being done. It's a long process. This is a new feature of now giving the ability between DFSP to exchange chats, even documents, so that it can help them resolve the dispute internally. And this is kept as history. Even if you can come after let's say 1 year, and you go to the dispute that has been closed, you can even see why it has been closed. You can see every conversation that was held over it. Everything will be clear. So this is actually what you have been presenting. This is the reconciliation dispute process. It's a very big improvement compared to what was there before. So thank you very much. I think we can agree to the question, and yeah.
I think this is fantastic. I'll allow a few questions or comments. Yes, there's one here, there's another here, and there's a third there.
Hello. Thank you very much for that presentation. It's impressive. I've worked at a bank before, and I know how painful reconciliation can be, and I can see how this can ease the pain of operational staff. Right. My question is this. Usually you have the clearing of the settlement, which is instant, and the funds are available to the payer and the payees. Then you have the actual settlement between the FSPs, and now you've introduced reconciliation into that process. So when does the settlement happen now in your case? Does it happen before the reconciliation is done or after reconciliation is done?
Yeah, thank you very much. So actually reconciliation happens after the settlement, because what are we reconciling first? We are actually reconciling according to what has been done in settlements. So reconciliation actually in few words is like, we have maybe settled you. These are transactions that we have done in our settlement. We have paid you and we have maybe credited you this amount. And then you also check on your side. I was supposed to be credited this amount and I was supposed to be debited this amount. Does it match? If it doesn't match, those are the mismatches. That's where reconciliation comes. So we even use in reconciliation only settled data. We cannot use reconciliation before the settlement. That's how the process is. Thank you.
I'm impressed to what I've seen. That's very good work.
Thank you.
From the level I've seen, the dispute is DFSP to DFSP disputes. Sometimes maybe this is not prevalent in this ecosystem, but also the end user may have a dispute. They were to receive funds that have not hit the account, and it's an instant payment system. What is the path or resolution for those particular end users based on your dispute resolution? How do they raise that complaint directly without having to go through the DFSP? Because from the DFSP endpoint, they push the funds, and the payee standpoint, they also receive the funds and did the respective action, but the funds have not hit the destination account.
Thank you very much. That is a very good question. First of all, what I can say is that our switch, as it stands now, we don't own those clients. Those clients belong to their participants. That is the reason why we don't have a way of a customer directly initiating a dispute. So most of the times, even when they have claims, they reach out to their DFSP, and the DFSP, they can directly reach out to us. And then we allow, before settlement, we allow some types of disputes. We allow only disputes that are related to fraud. You might be saying like, okay, I have sent money and then I've sent to the wrong number. We can allow that before even we do settlement, but it always comes from your DFSP, because as things stand, the structure of the business, we don't own any clients and customers, end user customers.
I'm looking at a scenario where the customer has raised this question to the DFSP, and they've not gotten the requisite support, and they are looking for someone who they can escalate the issue further. How do you handle that in a particular perspective? And that's why I'm asking. This is a context. Maybe that problem is not prevalent in this market, where the customer is extremely frustrated getting support about an instant payment that has not arrived or is hanging somewhere. So that's the question, last resort of support.
Thank you very much. So I think the process around that is that as my colleague Promise mentioned, our switch does not deal with our customers directly. So if a particular customer has any complaint on a particular transaction, they of course should address that to their own DFSP. Sometimes, I mean, most of them can even be resolved on the DFSP level without coming to the switch at all. So that dispute is only supposed to get to the switch if the DFSP also has a complaint on the same transaction. Otherwise, customers only deal with their DFSPs currently.
Yes, Michael.
Thank you. I wanted to make a couple of points. It seems to me that the problem of things being assigned to things missing from a settlement window is a problem that we have identified in the Mojaloop community, which has existed for a long time, which is that we don't currently define settlement windows by time. And therefore, we say, new settlement window, please, and we don't quite know whether transactions will fall on one side or the other of that dividing line because we don't define it. Now, we have developments underway to replace that with a new system of allocations whereby we will always say a settlement window contains transfers that happened during those times. Now, we would expect that advancement will mean that there isn't any longer a situation where not everybody has decided that the same set of transactions should be settled, because there shouldn't be any doubt which transactions belong in which settlement batches. So we will now be settling by batches, not by windows. And the time that we will use to assign a transfer to a batch is the time that the creditor institution put on the transfer when it confirmed it. So again, that's the same time will be used or should be used by everybody. So that's the first part. I'm worried by the idea that there might be discrepancies in amounts between these transfers. And the reason I'm worried is that the purpose of our agreement of terms phase is for both the parties to a transfer to say to the switch, yes, I agree that this is the amount that should be transferred, and this is the amount the beneficiary will get. Now, if it's possible that there could be an argument about that in which the answer was not, this is what you agreed to, you should have done that, then I think it's a concern for us in the Mojaloop community because we've worked hard to make sure that that situation should not arise.
Yeah, so not sure if I've understood well. There was a part of settlement windows. The part of settlement windows, I think maybe to answer that, how it is, maybe I can start by maybe clarifying how it is being done now. So currently, how it works is that we have the settlement windows that is defined. It's 1 day. But in our system, we have even made it possible that it can be configurable, the number of settlements and periods in that same day. So which means this is be done automatically. If it's, let's say we have said that we have 2 settlement windows in a day, each with 12 hours. When the 12 hours are done, we close. There's those transactions. We send them, of course, to the other parties that are involved, of course, the participants, and then that is how we are planning to handle them. Currently, we're doing it once a day, and of course, we're even sharing those reports to the participants as usual, but currently, we have done it in a way that it is configurable. We can set any number of cycles. We can set period of those cycles. It will be very flexible. Where the challenge comes when you have so many settlement windows, it's in the reconciliation part, because not all participants are really ready or they have staff to reconcile that number like twice a day. So what we have done on the system is there's a way you can filter if maybe we do settlement twice or thrice a day. There's a way that you can view all the files that happened on that day and then reconcile once for all without doing in parties or doing it twice or thrice a day. So that's the approach that we have taken. And as maybe, I don't know if I've understood the question, but I don't know if my colleague can support.
Michael?
Sorry, yeah, I understand that. Or at least I think I understand it. But I think there's a problem in settlement, a problem that we know about at the moment, which is that it's not possible when you say, I want a new settlement window, to know which transfers will be in the previous window and which transfers will be in the new window, which is something which, of course, if you're only doing a very small number of transfers, probably isn't a problem. But when you start to do a lot of transfers, it is a problem, or maybe a problem. And that means that you need to be able to define precisely which batch a particular or what transfers are contained in the particular batch. Now, we're not saying that you could only settle one batch. In fact, indeed, one of the things we want to be able to do is to get lots of batches with small amounts of transfers in each, so that it's easier for people to understand and look, rather than looking at a whole day's transaction, they can look at 10 minutes worth and that kind of thing. But it should mean, as I say, that there will now be a complete match between when a transfer completed and the batch in which it occurs. And we hope that this will resolve exactly the problem that you've just described, which is that DFSPs think a transfer happened at one time, or it should be in the batch, but the switch doesn't. With the new method of settling, as I say, there should be no argument. If a transfer happened between these times, the switch will record it as being in that batch.
Right. I think you are correct. So that question, even in our design discussions, of course, we have some level of precision on the switch. We can, based on, for example, the settlement window, when it was opened versus when the next one was opened, and generate the transactions based on that. But does not mean that DFSPs, we follow the same standard. Of course, we have system handling and validations in place on the files that are uploaded, but most of the times they'll probably leave 10 transactions because they missed 10 milliseconds precision, something like that. So that will initially raise some disputes that should not be there. It's very much anticipated, but we of course engage the FSPs to make sure we come up with something that works on both sides.
Thanks, guys. A round of applause for them.